We welcome you to another live edition of The Sports Box, your go-to sports podcast featuring great content, conversation, and your occasional disagreement. Stick around to interact and ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
It's on smoke, it's all about the cash flow. So come on and get this money, man. Getting paper and we always do it major on the slow, you know it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Winning Drive, man. I am super excited, so I got the smile on my face because I got my boy Dan on here. I met through Twitter. Dan's a big-time podcaster for the Chargers, follower the Chargers. I've been following him when I got on, X now, but Twitter back in. I've been following for a couple years. We've had a couple of engagements on and off, but I love his stuff. And I asked him last week if he could come on Game Winning Drive. He's able to come on. It's the perfect timing because of everything that's transpired with the Chargers in the last month, we would say, with the firing of Tom Telesco, the firing of Brandon Staley, and then the crazy-ass rumors of potentially Harbaugh, the Harbaugh at Michigan from yesterday, coming to the Chargers possibly. We don't know, but reports are saying that it looks like it could happen. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're also going to talk about the NFL and what's going on, the playoff picture. Does Lamar Jackson really have the edge of MVP and all that stuff? But I do want to introduce Dan. Dan, what's up, my man? Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a long time coming. We've been interacting for a bit, like you said, but excited to be on here finally, talk some ball with you and the gents. It's a crazy NFL season, crazy for the Chargers, crazy college football. We got playoffs yesterday that absolutely blew everyone's socks off. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're already talking head coaching and GM vacancies. I mean, playoff contenders, seeding, NFL draft. We got it all. But it's crazy world in sports talk, that's for sure. But thanks for having me on, man. This is fun. Excited for it.
Yeah, man, definitely, man. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. And if you guys should check it out, this is Dan's X, but Twitter account. Give him some love, give him some follows. He graciously enough followed me back so I could be able to DM him. So it worked out great. But yeah, like I said, man, he has a podcast. Please tune in and watch his podcast. It's great stuff, and I love it, man. Between you and Steven, the other guys, it's really a joy to watch it. So perfect segue for us to get into it, right? I mean, we talked about just before the backstage, before we went live, the college games. Now that we've seen what we saw yesterday, Dan, do you feel like they got it right?
I think so. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about Florida State getting hosed, and that topic's long gone at this point, but it's hard to argue when you see two semifinal games like that come down to the wire. White knuckles, sweaty palms, the whole nine on both sides the entire time. First off, that Alabama and Michigan game. Chargers, I cover the Chargers pretty, long term now, and seeing all the rumors with Harbaugh and hoping to see him kind of win it all, have his swan song, then come right over to SoFi in LA for the Chargers. And watching that team even push through the adversity that they had to go through, the muff punt, they had the missed field goal, missed extra point, the whole nine, still found a way to slay the dragon, if you will, that is Alabama and Nick Saban. That's no easy task. And the way they did that in overtime, shout out to Michigan, that they deserve that one for sure. And then, man, the Pac-12 after dark craziness that usually happens with Pac-12, Washington and Texas, for a while there, they had no business even being there. It felt like they were just giving the game away all day long. And then finally get some semblance of a rhythm, and Washington's about to win it. The clock's about to run out, maybe 15 seconds left or so, but someone gets hurt. They then get another 45 seconds back. Texas then gets the ball. Bad beat City. You're sitting there wondering, man, this is going to be going down in the record books, and somehow, some way, Washington holds on at the end. Incredible pass breakup by the corner at the end of it to win it.
Yes.
And there you have it. National championship set. Houston, Alabama versus Michigan. And then the storylines, not Alabama, Michigan and Washington.
Washington.
And storylines galore there, and what could arguably be Jim Harbaugh's last game in college football.
Yeah, which is obviously what we're going to get into later. But yeah, man, I 1,000% agree with you. It was 2 great back-to-back games, and I'm not an average college watcher. Only when we get into draft season is when I want to start watching the players, the projected players that we're supposed to see in the top, 50, 100. I'll watch them, and I'll, like for instance, like last year, I was not on the train for QJ, but it's something that we have to. I'm not off the bandwagon, but that's someone that I'm the kind of guy on my tweets. I wrote it's Addison and Flowers and everything else. That was my mindset going in to compliment Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I thought we need a speedy guy, but it was great games yesterday, and it came down to last play essentially. One probably. We could have the argument where it's 2 of the worst plays from Alabama, definitely from Alabama side. Like you said in the pre-show, we knew it was coming. I mean, the motion came down, it was spread, and he ran right through the A gap instead of at least running to the outside, where I thought Moreau would have a shot. But yeah, it's just crazy.
Honestly, it was a fun night of watching college football. And you mentioned like draft stuff. Like I started off the day watching the LSU game because there's some kids there that are studs. At the wide receiver, you got some interior defensive line guys. The running back from Wisconsin's good. And all day long, you saw top prospects. I mean, look at the Texas game. You got prospects on both sides. You got top end corners. You got receivers in Texas. You got the running back in Michigan. You've got the freaking studs at Washington. Talk about stud. Penix, by the way, made himself some cash.
Penix.
Rome Odunze, that guy's an animal. And you mentioned it, even, draft stuff. Last year you mentioned Quentin Johnston on our show. We had talked about, we do every year. We'll do best fits for the Chargers in this instance.
Okay.
And not necessarily best receivers, but best fits for the Chargers. And Quentin Johnston didn't make the top 5 of either of our lists as best fits. And when we were talking about him, we said, I don't think they should draft him unless they draft another receiver with him and utilize the different kind of, the quick play action, kind of the quickness, the playmaking abilities that you can get from a Darius Davis. And they did it, and then they didn't use Darius Davis really.
No,
and they're also not really scheming up Quentin Johnston to what he should be. He's had a struggling rookie season. There's a lot of reasons for that, but if I'm being honest though, I don't think this is a hot take. For me, there wasn't a single receiver in that draft last year that I felt comfortable with a first round pick. There were some studs in that draft class, like Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, the whole bunch of them. To me, those are second round talents, and they're performing. They're doing great. But first round, I would have taken Tank Dell over Zay Flowers. I was a big Tank Dell guy. But yeah, hopefully they get the Quentin Johnston stuff figured out. Seems like he was a project piece. In my opinion, that's a mistake to go after a project piece when you're trying to win it all that year. So
especially go all in. Yeah, definitely. That's why I was telling my boys and my co-hosts on here. I'm like, I was in love with Laporta. I just that's someone. I know we had Gerald Everett, and I know we have Fram, but I just I thought this kid was a game changer, and it's always
alone.
Nice.
You're not alone.
Yeah, it's always nice to have. And ever since, let me bring it back. Ever since we've been eliminated from playoffs, and the news broke down with Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco, I've been watching old seasons of the Chargers. So just admiring the days of Phillip Rivers, right? And so it's crazy stat that Phillip Rivers had Antonio Gates on those safety valves, especially in the years when we lost Vincent Jackson, and how impactful he was as a tight end. But not only as a tight end, you can line him up anywhere, and then you also had Norv Turner, the mastermind that he is. And let me tell you something. I take back everything negative I said about Norv. After what we've gone through these past 11 years, I take back everything I ever said against Norv, because it's just for me, it's like tight end is such a huge position to have, and it's just such a huge safety net. It's just a safety net to have a guy who can convert those third downs, Dan.
You're not wrong, and honestly, the safety net, the safety valve is multifaceted. Like, yes, you want the playmaker. Yes, you want the guy who can leak out and get that third down catch when it's crucial, and you want that, obviously. But what you're seeing with the Chargers is like it's not just about the catching. Like you need a tight end that can block. You need a tight end that can like do his job. Yeah. And unfortunately, the Chargers don't have any tight ends that can block. Not even average. Like they are terrible blocking, and that's not just affecting Justin Herbert or Easton Stick. That's affecting the running backs. That's affecting the fellow offensive linemen there. It's affecting the receivers. Everything's getting blown up because folks are crashing on the edges, both in the run game and the pass game. And I like Everett. I think he's a good receiving tight end. I love his playmaking abilities.
Yes.
I don't think he's been utilized enough, but they don't have anybody that they can depend on when they need a 3rd and 1 conversion to block it. And it's costed them. And yeah, tight end was a huge, huge opportunity last year that they just let go. There were 15 tight ends that could have helped them. And round after round after round, they just keep going and going and going. And look, Darius Davis, great draft pick. Honestly, he's given this team such juice on special teams. You'd like to see it in the receiving core as well, but great pick. Deion Henley, no clue. Is blowing my mind how they never use him. And you saw him in one drive last game.
One drive.
Look great. Obviously, I don't get Dooley's a stud, so you can't really dock that.
Yeah.
But realistically, rounds 2, 3, 4, they hit.
Yeah.
But the first round pick, when you're having to get it, you got to get it in an all-in year. And they just didn't. And I know there's a lot of factors here. Like we'll get into all the Chargers fiasco, but there's a lot of reasons why that ship did not sail or sailed off in the sunset.
You know, let's just get into it because a couple my guys are running late. So let's just, if you're okay with that, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So like we knew, and we've had our conversations last year after the Jaguars debacle. It was absolutely, I still can't watch this game to this day. We knew going into this year we were all in, right? We all the chips are on black. We're going all in. It's time for us to do something with this team this year.
This was the year.
Now that we've seen what we've seen, and now what we've gone through, was it a mistake by Dean Spanos to not fire Brandon Staley after that Jaguars game?
You know, it's I don't know. I go back and forth because I think, and I'm a big Brandon Staley believer. When he was picked, I was through the roof. I thought he was the right guy, and I thought that he could be the coach that can kind of be the silver bullet to bring this team to the promised land and change the culture and change the narrative and bring what they had in from the Rams and the Broncos and the Bears and all. Like we were all there. And what I've realized, and a lot of this is some like introspective learning on my part too, where you kind of lose sight of some of the things that are way important when it comes to first-time head coaches and what it takes to be a successful organization. And in my opinion, I don't think that Brandon Staley was set up for success given the organization that he joined. I don't think that Tom Telesco and him really saw eye to eye in the personnel and draft selections and stuff. And you see, I mean, hell, just last week you saw Kyle Van Noy talk about on Twitter how he was saying, "Oh, Staley wanted me, but Telesco and company or whoever above him didn't want me." I find it hard to believe that Brandon Staley was cool rolling back this year with Jazir Taylor and Mike Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. when they had Bryce Callahan last year.
1,000%.
Easily could have brought him back. John Johnson was there on the cheap, who is very familiar with Brandon Staley. None of those guys were brought back. I would be shocked if Brandon Staley didn't want him or those guys. Now, Brandon Staley, it was a first-time head coach and made a ton of mistakes. And for that reason, like simply put, he was not the right guy for this Chargers job. This Chargers team needed someone that takes everything by the reins and owns it, owns the room, owns the decisions, owns the locker, owns everything. And Brandon Staley was trying to do too much, trying to do everything, spread too thin, and things slipped. I think some of it was pride getting in the way. I think he thought that he can fix everything and rode that ship till it sank. The defense was not great at all. And you can wonder, is it because of coaching? Is it because of personnel? I mean, Brandon Staley hasn't been there the last 3 games, and the defense, the secondary is atrocious, like bad. Now
it's terrible.
You mentioned the Jacksonville game last year, and there are always going to be like key moments and key opportunities for head coaches to like make an imprint on a franchise or on a season. And that Jacksonville loss, but specifically like when things started to unravel and you saw stuff like with what happened with Joey Bosa, and you saw stuff where guys are losing their cool and guys are kind of flailing.
And the rumor that came out about Khalil Mack after that game, the rumors, I don't know if they're true or not, but
I didn't hear them. But what were the rumors?
Apparently that he got in a huge confrontation with a bunch of the coaches, including Staley, because of the game plan switched, and it like they weren't really using the same type of coverage that they were in the first half. They went to
honestly, and looking back, it's true. But if you remember, like Michael Davis got hurt, so they had to adjust everything, and then Derwin has to go back, and all of a sudden things blew up, and the whole thing went south. But head coaches have an opportunity to put their imprints on things. Like you got to reel them back in, and Staley just let it happen, and he kind of just held their hands and said it's going to be okay. And then furthermore, saying like kind of dismissing some of the gut-wrenching losses they had, like saying, "Oh, those things happen in the NFL." Like, you either going to dismiss it or you got to let that anger you. You got to let that thing fuel you. You got to let that thing like get you up at night every night. And don't let that happen again. And he just didn't have that owner room mentality. Like, he was respected, he was liked, but sometimes you can't be the best friend. And one thing that I wish Brandon Staley would do more, and I'm sure he probably did it to try to keep things in house, is I wish that he would have like been more stern and been more direct and put people on the spot publicly. And let people know when people aren't playing well. Yeah, he's not playing well, but he just kept taking shots personally versus letting people acknowledge like what the issues were. And but I realized like a lot of this like first time head coaching stuff, it's hard to be a coach in the NFL. And a franchise that brings in a first time head coach, you'd hope that it would have the foundation built around him to help him succeed. And you look at what's gone on with Tom Telesco and the draft picks that he's had, and the way that the roster construction has been made, and the salary cap construction, and lack of creativity with draft capital and trades. Like, there's so many things that you can't have that and a rookie head coach. If you're going to have that, so that's why I think so many people are scarred by no more rookie head coach this year, because they've had the same rookie head coach with the same lack of foundation, if you will. Like, there's no, like, do you really think that Tom Telesco or John Spanos or Dean Spanos or Wooden or whoever it is going to go there and be like, Brandon, you're doing this shit wrong. Like, this isn't how you do it. This is how we win. This is how we succeed. No, they have no idea what it takes to win, to succeed.
No,
they don't know what's right. They haven't done it. They never,
they got mollywop from their former GM when he constantly talked shit about them when he got fired. I mean, there's a reason why Vince Jackson's agent always said that this will always be a franchise of the ringless. I mean,
Eric Weddle said the same thing.
Eric Weddle, who I actually personally have coached against in high school, as he coached us last year down here in San Diego, he has some things to say, and I mean, it's pretty evident how he feels about the Spanos and the Spanos family. But that's where I get at too, is where is with Brandon Staley. Like, I like him, but then it's like, dude, like some of the decisions you were making,
Sure.
like for instance, you talk about how Kyle Van Noy said what he said. There's no way in God's green earth that Tom Telesco is going to go and sign J.C. Jackson without Brandon Staley signing off on that.
That's a huge miss.
Because
that was. There's no way you can say that was not.
No way.
Brandon Staley. I mean, that was there's so many catastrophic issues that plague the team, but no one can really foresee a miss that bad.
No.
The Broncos said hold my beer with the Russell Wilson thing, but the JC Jackson, that was epically bad. And what made that compoundingly worse was JC Jackson was the bona fide alpha CB1 that this Brandon Staley defense needs to succeed. And when that's not there, you spent so much money on the thing that's not working. You can't spend anything else. And you don't have the thing. And you're left with Michael Davis, who has been terribly regressing this year.
Oh, my God.
Asante Samuel Jr., who has never been able to tackle, but he's quick. And then you got 6th, 7th round draft picks in 2022 and UDFAs or waiver wire pickups. That's your secondary. And then Derwin James is left to try to hold the bag for everyone. But Derwin James is now taking on water because Derwin James dude, I'm not built for this.
We could talk about regressing with him as well. I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's him or if I don't know if it's the schemes that Brandon Staley was putting in for him.
I think he was doing too much.
It is, Dan, but it's just it's hard because when you watch him back in his rookie year in 2018, that man was a man amongst boys. I'll never forget that game when we won the game that we won where Mike Williams, had the nuclear game and he got the game-winning touchdown from Phillip on the game-winning extra point. And Travis Kelce had one catch the whole game. Yep. It's just that's I don't see that type of.
I think it was the scheme issue, and they were using Derwin James because he was the best player in the secondary, and they're trying to have him mask up too many things. And again, that's a Brandon Staley pride thing. He wasn't changing it because he believed in the scheme, but the scheme wasn't working with the personnel, and that's where I talk about the mesh of ownership, leadership, and coach.
Yep.
They did not have that.
Consistent.
They didn't have that. So there's a lot of things. And so I think that's why when the Brandon Staley firing was happening and after that Raiders game, it was inevitable. I think everyone knew. My biggest fear was that the Chargers are going to let him go and not let go of Tom Telesco because this had to get up to that level or else there was nothing that was going to change. And I'll summarize it with this. At the end of the day, I think everyone knows the fact that the Chargers have turned into a verb, to charger. That's a culture that has to be fixed. And this team has lost too many one-score games, too many backbreakers. There's just too much of consistent heartbreak. And you can blame everyone else all you want. But after coach after coach after coach, 10 years to 11 years.
11 years.
That's why the Jim Harbaugh stuff's happening. That's why people are talking about Bill Belichick. Even Ben Johnson, I think, has some of that too as a rookie head coach, possibly. He has culture shift stuff in there too, if you look at what Detroit's done with him.
Right.
But that's why so many people are this Chargers team has to get fixed systematically.
And I agree with you. And I think I'm on the boat of not having a rookie coach because for me personally, I'm over it. I'm just
jaded. I get it.
I'm jaded. And I don't blame people when they say it, but I love Ben. I actually love what he is doing in Detroit. But don't you see that from the outside looking? Even watching Hard Knocks, right? Hard Knocks with Detroit. Even watching outside looking in. Sorry. You love that. I love that culture that Dan brings to that organization. An organization that's been down the dumps for years. I mean, talking back when back when I was back when I was in elementary school. I mean, Barry Sanders is all I know from Detroit until Calvin and Megatron came in. But even then, they still were. They only made it one playoffs appearance with those two. So it's it's refreshing to see what Dan Campbell is bringing to that organization. And I'm pretty sure that route, that coaching tree will have some effects of it with Ben, wherever Ben goes to, because Ben wants to go somewhere. But the problem is with me, Dan, with Ben, and I don't know if it's true or not. I know he's debunked it, but if it's true, his representatives are asking for $15 million. I mean, if we're gonna spend $15 million, go get the big fish.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my only. I know he's debunked it. His people debunked it, but it's just like I've been on the record, and I say I don't want Bill Belichick. I think the game is just it's going by. That way doesn't work anymore for me. For the players today in today's game.
I think that the thing is that way works defensively.
Sure, yeah, but I don't want Josh McDaniels at OC.
Fair.
I don't want Patricia. I don't want Patricia to show up and start calling plays.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And that's the thing with like all of the head coaching talk is like, there's a reason why it's like. I mean, I would say it's probably 95% Jim Harbaugh in terms of what Chargers fans or media or everybody wants for this team. And there's a reason for that. Like, look at how he has turned around 4 organizations.
Yep.
Like, that just doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
So, well, he's 4 would be the Chargers. 4 would be the Chargers.
4 would be the Chargers, yeah. You've got Stanford, Niners, and Michigan.
And I think that's why it's, I mean, he has it in spades, right? Like he has it in spades. Whatever you want to call it, he has it.
Yep.
And I say Ben Johnson because he has like a third of it. Like, you saw what Ben Johnson has been through. And you could say, head coaching candidate, doesn't have any experience as a head coach, whatever. But he does have experience in like the changing of the culture, shifting narratives, starting from nothing, bringing things up from the ashes. He was with that team when they were trash and has brought them up now where we're talking Jared Goff is looking great. And we're talking barring a stupid, crazy mistake by the referees, they're chasing the 2-1 seed like that.
Oh, easily.
And so I understand why people are hesitant for the first-time head coach. And if Tom Telesco was still here, I'd be right there with you.
Oh,
I think I'm still leaning towards the veteran head coach, but like specifically the offensive-minded veteran head coach.
Yeah.
But if they bring in a successful GM candidate that has proven success, track record, draft capital, strategy from organizations that have won, like they know what it takes. So you're looking at guys from the Eagles, the Niners, the Steelers, the Chiefs, Ravens. Then I might be okay with the first-time head coach because, again,
let's go with the Ravens.
Hortiz, my goodness, that guy is a drafting savant.
Yes.
And so, but like when you get those guys together, when they come as a package unit, they are connected when it comes to not just like what the coach wants, but what the personnel needs to be for the coach, for the scheme, what the coordinator should be, like the whole nine. It's all together. It's not forced fit. So it's a crazy time for the Chargers. And it's kind of cool now seeing everyone like now being Michigan fans and everyone. I mean, I don't know about you. I watched that Michigan game, and when they stopped on 4th down, I'm like, let's go, Jim!
I was rooting. I was rooting, man. I was rooting.
But look, like that team, they're going to have to fork out a pretty penny. And they need to, honestly. Like, they have to.
If what you said is true, after you fired everybody, well, I think it was John who wrote it, right? John wrote it, and if it's true that we don't have any limitations financially of paying, which is kind of hard for me to believe because you still can't pay off your SSLs. That's a different story for a different day. If that's true, then that should be your main guy. I mean, there's really, really, honestly, Dan, there's really, in my mind, there's really nobody else from a veteran standpoint, right? From a veteran standpoint that I would go and I would tap. I told my buddies, they laugh at me all the time because I'm the guy that roots for a team that has no rings, whatever. But I told him honestly, dude, like If they ever decided to go a couple years ago when they had the chance to go get Brian Dabble, I wanted Brian Dabble instead of Brandon Staley. I understand why defense is so important because I actually admire Robert Saleh. I think what he's gone through and what the adversity that he's dealt with, and to be able to, I think he still gets the most out of his players is amazing to see what he's able to do in New York.
Oh, the defense.
And the reason why defense.
I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett has his job. To be honest.
I don't even know how Brees Hall finished RB3 in fantasy, but here we are. But with that topic, I thought they could luring out somebody from a comfy job. My guy was Rex Ryan. And the reason why I say Rex Ryan, and I know a lot of people don't like him, but I like Rex Ryan because his old school mentality, but he has that way where he can be cool with players, but he expects the most out of you. He's going to hold people accountable. So that's what I think what's been lacking these last since the Mike McCoy days. It's just been it's always the go-ho. Oh, this. I mean, even North came out and said a couple of times, sure. Yeah, we suck. It's the same old shtick that Staley would say all the time. That's a good team, and we got to get ready for next week. No, dude, like you're not Bill Belichick, bro. Like it's just, what I'm saying. Like that's I want veracity. I want a leader of men. I want a Mike Tomlin. I want someone to steer the ship to get this franchise back to the days of where my son could have a team to root for and be happy to root for it. It's just like it sucks, Dan. It effing sucks.
Well, but the thing is, and like this season has been like a series of unfortunate events, and it felt like all of the things that could go wrong went wrong. And we could talk about the coaching ineptitude at times. We could talk about like the stubbornness. We could talk about the personnel issues that have plagued this team from a depth perspective, right? That's really showed its ugly face when those injuries happen. Mm-hmm. We could talk about like the money that's been dished out to guys who are injury prone. And we talk about how top heavy they are to guys like Joey
my next
Bosa.
Topic. Yep, there you go.
Like Joey Bosa, guys like Keenan Allen, guys like Mike Williams, guys like Derwin James, like Derwin and Keenan, both of those guys, like they've been healthy as of late. But like, look at Mike Williams and Joey Bosa and how many games they've actually played for your team. And on top of that, you look at
we had the conversation last year, Dan. I told you, I said, I tweeted, I said Mike Williams does not need that contract. We could go and get other people for that type of money. But you brought it up, Dan, and not to cut you off, but you brought it up about the trading aspect, but not having no creativity from Tom Telesco. You mean to tell me that you're not going to go and call the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago and ask for the services of Calvin Ridley?
Oh, dude, looking at that, like, well, and that's the thing is, there's so many like all of the there's just so many things that went wrong, right? We talked about like your quarterback's Edward Scissorhands back there with both fingers jacked up throughout the year. Like you're talking about not having wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. Joey Bosa's gone for the year. Center's gone for the year. CB1's not even playing for your team. Like you can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the roster.
Man.
But
the roster's bad.
They're not that far off, even with all of those issues. You saw what the Rams did this past offseason, where they had like 165 UDFAs. I'm being sarcastic, but I think it was like 35 or something.
No, yeah, you're up there. They're up there.
And they're a playoff team.
Great coaching.
So Justin Herbert paired with good coach, paired with good draft picks, paired with a GM that cares and that is aligned to the new coach. Let's ride. They got the most important piece, and that most important piece is arguably better than 95% of the other guys in the league at his position.
Yep.
They have to understand that if you're going to want to change the culture, and you're going to want to change the narrative, and you're going to want to get respect, and you want to dig into the LA market, and you want to dig into the AFC West, money talks. Look at Sean Payton. Look at Andy Reid. You got to do it. Hell, even the Raiders, I know they're a laughingstock a bit with the head coaches that they've chosen, but they've swung big.
Dude, they look good. They look good. I know they lost, but
yeah,
that culture's
personally,
changed.
I hope Antonio Pierce stays because that's one less team got to worry about in the Harbaugh stakes. But they're not far off. They're not far off.
I agree. So let's get into the next subject, which is rosters. So obviously the roster is gonna be I think personally it's gonna be significantly different in 2024.
Yep.
What guys? So let's just go through each guy. Joey Bosa. What are you doing if you're the GM?
Trade.
Yep. Okay. So
hopefully,
obviously we're not
hopefully you can get like a late day 2 pick is my guess. I'm hoping round 3, round 4 is probably what you can get.
So the reason why, and so for the people that watch, we get a lot of fans after we go live, but the reason why we're talking about this is because the Chargers, I believe, are going to be $48 million over the cap.
It was 42 million prior
42.
to.
There we go.
It was 42 million prior to the release of Sebastian Joseph Day, so now it's roughly like 35-ish.
Okay. So these people, yeah. So these people that I'm going to bring up are people where their contracts, their players, their contracts are coming up where we could save money by cutting them or trading them. We'll still take a dead cap hit, but it's yeah. So Joey Bosa, you want to trade? So let's go with Mike Williams.
I think he's gone.
Just a cut. I obviously I don't think Eagles going to trade for him.
I mean, you want to trade him.
You do.
I mean, you'd like to trade him, but I don't know if there's a suitor for him. I mean, I say that, but also like 20 million for a receiver isn't that like they're going for a lot more than that now.
Yeah.
Now he has injury history, so I don't know, but you hope to get a trade, but I don't think he's on the team next year.
You don't think the trade?
If it was me, I don't.
If it's you, back. Yeah, okay. Austin Eckler,
no,
he's gone.
Yep,
no franchise tag.
Nope, heck no.
I agree. Yeah. Keenan Allen.
I think he stays. I think they restructure him. I think that dead cap will go way down, convert it to a signing bonus, roster bonus, and probably extend him for 2-3 years. Although, like, I never want to see Keenan Allen not a Charger.
Right.
Ever. But if it's a pure financial decision and pure looking at the franchise long term, I could understand. Again, take your heart out of it for a second. I could understand why, let's say you can get a day 2 pick and instead of paying whatever it is, 25, 30 million
for a 32-year-old receiver,
you're paying 5 for 5 years, 5 for 4 years. And if let's say you hit on it, let's say you go get a Malik Neighbors who's the next Jamar Chase. Like it would crush your heart.
But
if you're being ruthless, like if you're being cutthroat, you're trying to fix this thing quick. It's an option. Now you can say if you restructure it, add on a couple of years. I mean, all you're doing is pushing the money down the road. But still, you can help the salary cap issue this year. I don't think they get rid of him. But again, if you're just a ruthless businessman and focusing on long-term success of the team and the franchise and the roster, I can see it. But if it's me, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm restructuring him. They have to. There's no way they can fork that 32 million cap hit next year, obviously. So I restructure him, try the best I can to retain him. I hope he wants to stay a Charger. I'm pretty sure he wants to, but I
think he does.
Yeah, I hope. Corey Linsley, I think, is going to retire.
Yep, I think he's done with that. I mean, it's so unfortunate for him. Like, you hope that he's okay, just health wise. Take away football, just as a dad, as a father, like, as a husband, I hope he's okay. But if he does retire, like, that's money back in the Chargers' pocket too. Yep. So that makes the 2024 roster issue or cap issue a little bit less. Khalil Mack's the one that I go back and forth on.
Khalil Mack.
Because on one hand, what he's done this year has been incredible. And literally has had the best season of his career. He's like, second or third in terms of sacks in the NFL. Yeah. Like, guy's a beast, right? Could you sell for any higher than this? This is the highest you will ever be able to get him sold.
My decision's easy. I'm not struggling with Khalil Mack. I'm letting him go.
So you're hoping to trade him out?
Oh yeah, trade or cut him. You have to.
I don't think he's cut. I think he's traded.
I can't. Yeah, I can't justify keeping 36 million cap hit, even restructuring the deal. It's 2000. It's in my mind, Dan. The way I'm thinking about it is that we got to get through 2024, and then 2025, our cap is like around 110 million or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I always try to think about it from around the corner. Like, imagine the trading team who's wanting Khalil Mack. Like, you know how easy of a sell that is. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm making this up. Second round pick, probably. I doubt they get a first round pick, but say second round pick, maybe.
Yeah,
and let's say you're the Steelers. Let's say you're the Steelers. Let's say you're the, I don't know. Let's say you're the Jets, or the Giants, Commanders, maybe. And we trade around second round pick. We just got the Khalil Mack. This guy's had 17, 18, how many sacks he ends up with. Like, that's an easy sell to a fan base.
It is.
So that was an easy sell. The Joey Bosa one's probably less of an easy sell, but hey, take him to San Francisco. I'm cool with it. Michael Davis, gone.
Yeah,
Michael Davis is gone. Questionable. I would take Everett if he came back on a cheaper deal. Not for, I don't want him tight end 1, but I'd take him back.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot different next year. And it's just going to be interesting because you got Palmer, you have Allen hopefully back, and you'll have Johnston. I think those would be the 3 guys, depending on what we do draft-wise. So let's get into the draft a little bit. So right now we are slated to be 6. We are going to be the biggest fans, I believe, this week for New England. And I think who's behind us? Who's 5th right now? New England's 3rd.
New England and Arizona are the teams that we're fans of this week. Well,
okay,
personally, that I'm fans of. Right. I mean, obviously, you want to see the Giants lose. Don't see that happening.
So they're Giants are right behind us. They're 5, right? And then
Giants
we're 6.
Are 5. Yep, we're 6. With the Giants, I forget exactly, but I think it's the Giants and Commanders are both playing the Eagles and Cowboys. So, like, there's no way those teams they shouldn't win. But New England's playing the Jets. Like, that's possible. This could be possibly Bill Belichick's last game. Hates the Jets. Like, that's an easy. I can see that. Yeah. And then the Cardinals. Forget who they're playing, but they're playing a team that I can see them beating. By the way, the Cardinals have 4 wins this year. Cardinals have beaten the 11-5 Cowboys.
Yep.
11-5 Eagles.
Yep.
And I think it's the 9 and whatever the Steelers record is.
They beat
3 of their 4 wins have been against possibly playoff teams that have like 9 wins plus. So
they play the Seahawks.
I don't know what the Seahawks are. So, like, those 2 teams I could see happening. And if those 2 teams end up winning, that would put them and the Chargers and the Titans and the Giants all at 5 wins. And then it just stack ranks to straight the schedule. So, Chargers currently at 6. Technically, they can get to 3. Don't see it. I think it's probably somewhere between the 4 and 7 range.
I would like 4. Honestly,
I would love 4.
I would love 4 because then it gets really interesting in seeing what the teams. So we could talk about it right now. Obviously, the Chicago Bears have the Carolina Panthers first pick. What, in your thoughts and in your brain, are they doing?
Like, I go back and forth because, again, like, if you take emotion out of it, take emotion out of it for a second. You're just purely looking at this from like a roster construction point of view. You got Caleb Williams there, like, or Drake May, whichever one you want,
or Phoenix,
hell, or Penix, whatever you want. You got all 3 of those guys. You got all 3 of those guys. And I know Justin Fields has some electric plays. And I don't necessarily know if he is the problem for that team.
Think he is.
But there's something about having a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract who's supposedly that generational.
Yep.
And I know like the team, like, and even the last wins he's had, go back and look at his stats over those last 4 games. They're not great at all. They're average at best. And again, you see those
surrounding
SportsCenter
cast
top 10
was trash though.
You see the SportsCenter top 10 plays, like you see those crazy plays, but if you're a team that has the number 1 pick, you're either drafting a quarterback or you're getting a haul to not. So if it's me, I'm either drafting Caleb Williams or finding someone that will. Because it would, in my opinion, be so stupid to go receiver there. Someone wants that pick.
Yeah, I don't see Chicago doing that. I really don't. Now, we had a great conversation last week with the number 2 team that is I think is the Commanders.
I think it's Commanders 2.
Yeah. That it would be interesting if they flip-flopped. Because I'm pretty sure the Commanders don't want no one to get ahead of them for a quarterback if Chicago's like, because here's the thing. If you think Justin Fields is the guy and you don't think he's the issue and you can win with them, I would handle business right away and sign a deal with him and then get that package that you are talking about last year, what they got with Carolina, and they were able to get DJ Moore, which is actually turned out to be roses. A lot of people were handing on that trade, and I think Ryan Poles has looked out great right now in that trade. If you looked at that meme that was getting crossed around, every draft pick that he took, everyone hit so far.
I mean, look, you could talk. I mean, New England, Arizona, Arizona, even Atlanta, the Raiders, Minnesota, Denver, all of these teams would love to have that pick and would trade a farm to get number 1 for Caleb Williams. Yep. So if I'm Chicago, I'm either drafting Caleb Williams, no question. He's the only player I'm picking at 1.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm not taking Marvin Harrison at 1. It's just I can't take a receiver at 1. Unless it's the last thing that I needed.
I was talking to my co-host about this, and the last one that was taken at 1 was like early. I think it was like 1996. I forget who it was. The receiver that was taken for the first pick.
1 overall.
Yeah, the last time it was like it was almost 30 years ago.
What was? Remember, there was a narrative of the GM for the Lions. Remember, he kept taking a receiver like 3 straight first rounds.
Yes, but like I'm talking number 1 overall.
No, yeah, number 1 overall
since 1996, I think.
Oh man, I really thought Calvin Johnson was taking 1 overall.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah.
While you talk, I'm gonna look at this.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm with you going Caleb Williams. So if the Bears don't get a trade off that they want, I don't blame them for taking Caleb Williams and then hopefully trade Justin Fields to someone else. Then you have the Commanders at 2. We all agree. I think they'll go quarterback. New England at 3.
Quarterback. They have
to.
Keyshawn Johnson, by the way. Keyshawn Johnson.
Keyshawn Johnson. That's it. And then obviously 4, 5, and 6 is up for grabs. I need the Chargers to be in that 4 or 5 range.
The thing about these bowl games, right? Like, man, Penix made himself some cash. He's a first-round draft pick. I'd be shocked if he's not. Bo Nix, I'm not sure. No. Sanders, not sure. But like we say
is
no.
Is he coming out?
I don't know. I don't know if he has yet. But the thing is, like, these teams are desperate for a quarterback and a 5th-year option. And so I think Chargers fans going into this probably a week ago were hoping that 3 quarterbacks go before them.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, I'm hoping for 4.
Yes.
Bring on 4.
Yeah.
And if
we get 4, Dan,
we're cooking.
I'm pretty sure Harrison Jr., right? We're not going to hesitate on this pick.
So, all right, let's just say the Chargers stay at 5. Or let's just say 6 because that's what we know. Say they're at 6.
Okay.
And so let's say 4 quarterbacks go ahead of them.
Okay.
I think the other pick is gonna be Marvin Harrison. There's no question.
Right. Which would give us LSU.
Which the Chargers could go Malik Neighbors, which I have been on record. That's the guy I want. And I know I sound crazy for this. But to me, Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like you can't. It's like asking which would you rather have, Calvin Johnson or Jamar Chase?
Calvin Johnson.
And like you're not wrong for that. You're not wrong for that. Calvin Johnson,
I hear you.
Animal.
I hear
right?
you. I hear you.
But like if you're choosing between those two, like in my opinion, Justin Herbert needs someone who can just be a game breaker. I want someone who can take an easy pass to the house.
A game changer that can create yak.
Yeah, I want explosion. I want them to make his life easier. I want them to have him be able to do more with less, right? And Malik Neighbors to me is just like a slam dunk. And they both are. I mean, they both are. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute animal, right?
Woo!
Like you can't but Marvin Harrison is run by people. Now, he wins so many different ways and is such an incredible athlete. And for his size, asterisk,
he reminds me
insane athlete.
His comparison, take his daddy out of it. I think he's gonna be better than his daddy. I honestly think I see a comparison of him as CeeDee Lamb. I do.
But he's bigger than CeeDee Lamb.
He is bigger, but his route running, his hands, his body movement, everything I see is what I see what CeeDee Lamb does in Dallas. And I think not only
look where he was drafted. He wasn't picked in the top 5.
No, he wasn't. No. Thank God the Eagles wanted to go Rager.
So like the thing I think that for draft talk though, like for the Chargers, like I think that the sizzling pick would be, the dream scenario. Oh my gosh, Marvin Harrison Jr. is there. And hell, at this point at 6, the dream is that Malik Neighbors is there. One of those two you hope is there. Because if currently it probably goes quarterback, then it could go receiver.
Receiver.
The Giants are the wild card. They need to protect the quarterback, but they also need a receiver. There's no quarterback. You don't know. Do you stick with Daniel Jones? I don't know. Is he your answer?
It's a lot of money to leave on the board if he's not.
I mean, a variable. So but
one of the most stupidest signings in recent years.
But the thing is, the Chargers, sure, they can go receiver. If it was me and they're staying at 6 or 5 or whatever it is, and Malik Neighbors there, easy money, no problem with that. But there's an argument to be made.
Clown, one of my boys.
There's an argument to be made that they can go edge. There's an argument to be made about offensive line, which I don't think they should do offensive line.
No,
I don't think
not in this draft class.
I don't think that's as much of the issue as people say it is. Personally, as much as I'm saying, I think a lot of the blocking, at least 60-70% of it can be fixed if you get a running back and a tight end who can block. They don't have either of those right now, and so that can improve there. But you can say tight end.
But Dan, I feel like Zion,
Bowers picked
and Slayer. I feel like they just went. I'm not really like.
The Lindsley injury killed him.
It destroyed the talk and the communication between each other.
Yep.
But I just even Slater. I feel like Slater just wasn't what he was before he tore his bicep last in 22. I know honestly, it's a lot to lean on him, but it's also maybe it's just me because every those final drives against Miami, the pressure came on, and it was always through the B gap on our guards.
But that's that's the issue. That to me, and I know we're going long on this, but those pressure scenarios, right, where the defense goes those zero blitz or max pressure, all that kind of stuff. There's probably, I would say, at 6, probably at least 6 of their losses are directly because of their offense's inability to protect during those situations where defenses bring the house, offensive line and company can't protect, right, and or Kellen Moore can't scheme against it and be prepared for it, and or Justin Herbert can't recognize audible out of it.
Yep.
All of those things happen. But that stuff can be fixed if you can have guys who are prepared and who are available to actually protect it. But when it's 7-on-5, 8-on-5, 9-on-5, or hell, 9-on-7, 8-on-5, whatever it is, but 3 of the guys that you're thinking are going to block are terrible blocking, it's not going to happen. So that's why the Brock Bowers talk comes in, because Brock Bowers, incredible tight end, to your point. Like, that's the guy that you want that could be that Antonio Gates type in theory.
Yep.
He can also block so much better than anybody else on this team right now in tight end group. Yep. Option there. You can go corner, because the cornerback group is terrible on the Chargers. And so you could argue Asante Samuel Jr. is the only starting NFL corner on this roster, period.
But you also can say that about the linebacking crew.
We don't know
about Hanley.
You don't know about Hanley.
We do know
Kendrick's still on the roster. Next year,
he's got to go. It's just too up and down for a guy that we traded for to get in back in the first round.
Oh, for Kenneth Murray? Yeah.
Yeah. I
don't think he's coming
back.
I think
Tom Telesco dropped the bag with letting go Kaiser White. Kaiser White, I think was a great addition and a great roster piece to have.
Oh, you can go Kaiser White, Kenny Nwosu, Adrian Phillips,
those are great picks, dude. Those are great picks that he just let them walk. And I think it was just a relationship issue between the both of them, because they didn't sign for much. I mean, I'm pretty sure, right? I mean, Kaiser.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
Kaiser signed for pennies. Kaiser signed for pennies. And here's a crazy stat. This is why the general manager firing was so important. And we talk about, roster construction and salary cap and all that kind of stuff. Outside of round 1, throughout the entire tenure of Tom Telesco's career at the Chargers, they have re-signed just 4 of their draft picks to extending contracts. 4 in 11 years.
It's terrible.
4. Like, that's crazy.
I'm trying to think in my head. I know Keenan Allen's one.
I honestly don't know who the 4 are.
Would Austin Eckler count? He was undrafted.
I don't know if that would be in the technically drafted players, because he's undrafted. I don't know.
Okay.
But the fact, over 11 years, that's hard to do. And so this could be the year. This could be the year where, hey, maybe the Chargers go, you know what? We got too many holes to fill. We got more holes to fill than draft picks right now. Maybe they do trade back for once. Accumulate assets.
I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind either. This is the
That's
thing.
what my buddy just wrote.
The Chargers are looking to possibly, can we be creative? A competitive advantage is draft picks and how many you have, or disadvantage, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
For example, since 2018, the Ravens have had 25% more draft picks than the Chargers because of their creativity and the trades that they make. Go look at the Cowboys. They have more draft picks than the Chargers. There are teams right now, I was looking at Tankathon earlier today, there are teams right now that have, let me see if I can find this, that have, I went to draft power rankings and the value of their cumulative draft assets.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers total value, they have an 890, which whatever the number is, 890. There are teams here that have 600 more than them. And the number of picks they have is, look at the Packers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 picks this year. Chargers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 2 of those are in the final round. So, new regime. That's what you're looking for. New culture, new identity, new vision, according to Dean Spanos. That's what this Chargers team is looking for. Top to bottom. Personnel, roster construction, salary cap, draft capital, draft
start over,
talent acquisition, talent evaluation, medical staff, coaching staff, coordinators, front office, all of it.
Training staff, medical staff, training staff need to go. Yeah, you're right, Dan. You're right. I 1,000% agree with you on that. You just got to start over. You really do. You just have to get someone that is, like you just said, like the Ravens, who I'm been high on. I've been adamant about adding somebody fresh, somebody that has an eye for talent, that knows the insides and outsides of the NFL. I've been on the Louis Riddick train for a while. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I know they're going to go with somebody that's been established in the office, like an assistant GM or something like that.
Yep.
But Ed Dobbs is one of the names that I've been looking at a lot. But I'm with you, man. Like everything that you said tonight I'm right on par with you. And maybe trading back is what we need to do instead of getting the feisty, sexy pick of Marvin Harrison Jr. or your guy in LSU. I can't pronounce his name. Malik Neighbors. Maybe trading back is the answer for the long term, because we are not having the luxury anymore of having a quarterback on a rookie deal. And let's just quiet the talk of people talking about Justin Herbert being traded. That needs to just shut up. That needs to be done. But yeah, man, I'm with you, and I appreciate you coming on. And dude, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, dude. But it's finally happening. We finally got to do this. So
yeah, no, it's been fun, man. Like I know we probably talked a lot more Charger stuff here than maybe folks were thinking. But it is going to be a fascinating next couple months. And hell, if you want to extrapolate that out to April, to May, got draft, got all kinds of stuff. Like, buckle up for all things NFL draft, all things GM, head coaching candidates. Like, it's going to get crazy. You're going to start seeing bidding wars across the board. And yeah, I said from jump before the season started last year. I think this was back in February. I was like, regardless, either way, this is going to be a pivotal year for this franchise. It's either going to go historically great for Brandon Staley and company, or historically bad. And this team seems like it is getting the cleanse that was required. And that's why people are hoping for someone who can shift the culture, shift the narrative, shift the vision, shift the respect, all of that stuff. And that's why so many people are trying to connect the dots to Jim Harbaugh. And I think if you're a betting person right now, I think he's the likely candidate that they get. They just got to open the checkbook, which I don't see that being the issue. They don't get him. I just don't this time around.
Yeah. I agree with you, Dan. Real quick, you give a shout out to people what your podcast is called so they can follow you.
Sure. Chargers Unleashed. My co-host and I, we do shows probably twice a week, do some live shows as well. You can find me on X at DanW Sports. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. We do all kinds of stuff around draft talk, do things around free agency. Obviously, we do the recaps and stuff about the team. Exciting times, but Chargers fans should be excited because it's going to be like the dawn of a new era. And so this is probably the calm before the storm. As soon as that game ends next week versus Washington, the Washington-Michigan game, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy. So no, thanks for having me on, man. It's been fun. Glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, brother. Get you on that time. It'll be great. It'll be good to talk to you about things that are going to transpire here in the next couple of months. So
absolutely.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
See ya, brother. All right, man. Thanks, guys, everybody tuning on, man. That was Dan, like he told you, from Unleash podcast, Chargers Unleashed podcast. He came on, we talked about the Chargers, and you guys are tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one. Be safe.